So when PlayStation is speaking about their business, the best thing I suggest for PlayStation fans is that they listen. Now, in regard to listening, they're mostly going to share information with shareholders for the most part. So this is where you can get to what I think is some of the most accurate information about their business strategy. Remember when we talked about the leaks that happened with Insomniac, right? This was their threat analysis. And in those leaks, PlayStation unveiled a number of things that was threatening to them from the Xbox side. They talked about Xbox's capability to deliver these live service games. They talked about the shift in the industry. They also talked about what they could do to mitigate these changes. And one of them was that they wanted to expand, especially, I think, in these areas. They only said expand. And another thing that they said was they wanted to do a premium sales model as the central approach. So pretty much when you see the PlayStation 5 asking you for $700 without a disc version or a disc, attached to the hardware, you already see the Apple thing coming out of them. They already said that they were wanting to do something along the lines of that. When you see a game like Concord that should be free to play, asking you to pay $40 on entry, it's part of their premium sales model pipeline. A game that could be free to play that other services and other developers and publishers are offering for free, PlayStation wants and intends to sell those things to the PlayStation audience because they're already behind in their live service offerings. They're behind in the fact that they cannot deliver a lot of their content through other means, only through the PlayStation, and now with the PC in place, they're still behind on a lot of other fronts. And what's even crazy is a lot of the sales of their software, they're not as impressive as they would like for them to be. Putting that in perspective, we now have more information about another live service game from PlayStation that is coming pretty soon. This doesn't surprise me. The only thing that's probably of surprise to me is that it's actually one that has been out of the news for a while and it's surfaced. This is basically a statement that Jason Schreier made on a podcast where Push Square is now writing the article, Sony's live service push is no joke. A lot of people working on Horizon Online, end quote. And so Sammy Barker writes, I don't know why I said Baker. Sammy Barker writes, Bloomberg journalist Jason Schreier has appeared on the Spawncast where he got caught up in a conversation about Guerrilla's current plans. There's obviously quite a lot on Horizon on the way this year, with Horizon Zero Dawn remastered and then Lego Horizon Adventures, multi-plat PC Day 1, slated to follow on November 14th. But what will come after those two? Horizon Online is their next product, not the third single-player game, looks like, he explained. So that one maybe weighs off. Schreier continued, PlayStation's live service initiative was no joke. Everybody was like, it's live service games all around. Horizon is one of the few ones that hasn't been canceled or hasn't come out and flopped the way Concord did. And so, yeah, a lot of questions. A lot of people are working on that. Now, like I said, if you listen to PlayStation, you wouldn't need any journalist to actually tell you much because we already have a lot of stuff coming from shareholders. In fact, this is not even surprising to us simply because a few months ago, or I guess last year, over a year ago, depending on how you want to look at it, they already came and told us that Sony intended to invest more in live service games than traditional games starting that fiscal year. What's even worse, I guess even crazier, I wouldn't say worse, is that some of these games have been in development even much longer. So they've actually been making the shift for a while before actually announcing it. So probably 5 years before. If you look at a game like Concord and you look at a game like Horizon, both games have been in development around 2018. So this is one thing companies would do. They won't give you their strategy all, at the same time. Even with shareholders, there are things that they're going to keep away from shareholders for the meantime in terms of being able to keep a competitive edge. That's the point. I think at some point they wanted to ensure, and this is PlayStation, they wanted to ensure that they were not fully dependent on only third-party, live service games. Yes, it was making them a lot of money, but they were looking for a way to get out of it. And so was everybody else. Everybody saw the, success of Fortnite. Everybody saw the success of Call of Duty and even Apex Legends. And I'm sure PlayStation themselves are like, man, we can do this. There's no doubt about it. But here's where I see a big problem for PlayStation. PlayStation wants to do live service in such a saturated market and maintain exclusivity. I don't think this approach is going to work because right now, even Microsoft themselves are looking at ways to move other games into the PlayStation ecosystem. They've already gone with, Sea of Thieves. And not only that, the competition is being so stiff and so fierce. If you want to do a brand new live service game, there is a lot that you have to, put into perspective in order for you to be able to make that work or make it sustainable. Helldivers did okay in terms of launching and kicking off the ground, but longevity for Helldivers 2 is just right now not there. The game has dwindled down in the number of players that are playing on Steam, and even PlayStation fans themselves did not really buy that game much. In fact, what's even crazier is PlayStation fans themselves did not play that game as much as they were playing games like Call of Duty, other games like Minecraft and EA's games. The charts, every time they come out with the user, the monthly active user or the weekly user data, continues to show that a lot of PlayStation players are not even playing these live service games. What's wild, ladies and gentlemen, is that the biggest players of Helldivers are PC players. It's weird. Almost every week for the past, so many weeks, when the data is actually put forward, what you'll see is Helldivers appears on PlayStation, on PC in the top 10 category. The image is still loading. Wait for it for a little bit. There it is. Helldivers 2 was number 8 on PC the last time they took the data around week ending September 14. On the PlayStation side, it's nowhere to be found. So as much as they think that they can come into this market, maintaining exclusivity does not work for them. Another really interesting thing too is a game that they once published and kept and held exclusive is now basically being moved over to Xbox. The developers looked and said, man, we see an opportunity here. They requested, and I don't know how they negotiated getting the publishing rights to Predator Hunting Grounds, and they want to get an Xbox launch simply because they realize that exclusivity is not going to get the job done. Look at the biggest games in terms of revenue. Look at the biggest games in terms of what players are playing consistently. You will see that they have this one major aspect to them, and that is the multi-platform side. The ones that are not multi-platform, they have a way of sneaking into the list, but they don't stay there long enough. They don't have the longevity at all. So if PlayStation is going to move into the live service arena, it really needs to evaluate how it's capable of being, of dealing with the saturated market and how it's capable of doing it with exclusivity, of which right now we're seeing that it's not really working out very well for them. I think pivoting is probably their best bet, but they're not going to listen. Like I said, they've already told us their plans. They're moving 60% of their development into live service. They need a few that work, and they're going to hammer down on it. The second thing is they're going to use a premium sales model to pretty much make up for the funding that they're not necessarily going to get. And these were gotten from their Activision, the leaks that were from Insomniac about Activision and the threat that it poses to them. So brace yourself, PlayStation fans. All this talk about, PlayStation quality games, that's about to wane really fast because, again, the green is now demanding that line go up. And if line does not go up, well, you know exactly what's going to happen. PlayStation is going to start freaking out, and then they're going to charge you more. So actually, as a PlayStation fan, you actually need one of these live service games to work. If it doesn't work, they're going to be billing it to you some way or the other. They're going to either raise PlayStation Plus again and do some rigmarole. And many of you, they know you're going to pay for it. They know you're like Apple, users, and they know they can get the money from you. So they will bill it to you. So what you need is for one of these live service games to work out so that you can get your single player games, because live service games like Call of Duty have always paid for single player games on PlayStation. Let's not get that misconstrued. And I see a lot of people here saying, no, live service games are not something we should root for. See, if you like looking at data, there are just some things that you'll stop saying. Remember, we used to talk when we were very naive back a few years ago in 2017 and all that, we used to say, live service games are bad. They're bad. I'm not saying that they're not bad, but we used to always say that, we'd hope that they all go away, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, that's how these companies were actually getting investment money to make the single player games that we liked. So again, is it what we call like a necessity in a sense for some of these companies? It probably is. For our benefit, those of us that like single player games, it probably is, because they're very risky. Not as risky as live service games in today's market, but they're risky nonetheless. And again, to be honest, I don't think PlayStation needs to, go die on this hill, but it seems like they feel like they need it. And the hill right now is that if they're not going to make innovative games like their single player partners / competitors, like From Software and Capcom and all the others, they're probably going to have to die like a really slow death of irrelevance at the end of the day. And they don't want that. So it's kind of a weird place. It's a rock and a hard place. Should we single player and risk getting smoked by the likes of Elden Ring? Because it just seems like they can't get away from the shadow of other video games when their games come out. If we're not getting smoked by other publishers, we're going to get smoked by Nintendo in the same year. Or do we live service into this thing and hope that we strike gold? So again, it's just so weird for them at the end of the day. They got a lot to think about, ladies and gentlemen, because that's not something Xbox is thinking about right now. Xbox already has them beat just by, pure, happenstance, I guess, because they didn't do the hard work for Activision. They just basically, they did the work and got billions of dollars sitting around, but it just went into it was a grocery store and blew $69 billion. Just so that they can say, oh, yeah, we want to compete with Apple and Google now. Basically, keep putting Apple and Google on blast because you guys know Stadia failed. So Microsoft wants to occupy that area because NVIDIA is coming in, and so they want to kind of get a presence there. Bruh, this is a game of chess, man. You really got to get out your chessboards for these ones. If not, videos aren't going to do it. Podcasts aren't going to do it. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you guys so much. I really thank you for your time. Hopefully, we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Hit me up in the comment section. Peace out.